A trembling female voice whispered, "Don't make a sound." He recognized the voice as Amaka's, his new maid, whom he barely noticed most days. Kingsley Adebayo, a billionaire accustomed to buying silence, arrived home in the lavish quiet of his penthouse. The city's distant hum was a world away, and he craved only the profound stillness of his private sanctuary. Before he could even loosen his tie, a hand clamped firmly across his mouth. His body went rigid, years of disciplined instinct preparing him to fight the intruder. He twisted, pulling away from her hand, his eyes narrowing in fierce anger. "What are you doing here?" he hissed, ready to fire on the spot. Amaka, her eyes wide and red-rimmed with a desperate urgency, darted her gaze down the long, opulent hallway. Her chin trembled before she spoke. "Please, sir, you must be quiet." "Don't raise your voice," she pleaded, her voice barely audible, but firm. "Your son is sleepwalking," she confessed, her voice thick with fear. "And if you wake him the wrong way, the shock, you could lose him." Kingsley froze, the shocking words echoing in the vast, silent hall. Sleepwalking? His son? He stared at Amaka, disbelief warring with a sudden, cold fear. "My son?" He murmured, the question a hoarse whisper. Amaka nodded, her gaze fixed on the dim corridor. "It happens every night, sir, about this time," she explained softly. "I've been staying back after my shifts, unpaid, to gently guide him back. Tonight he almost reached the stairs," she added, her voice tight with the memory. Kingsley imagined Junior, small and vulnerable, teetering at the edge of the grand marble staircase. The raw image made Kingsley's stomach churn. He slumped onto a hallway bench, the cold leather chilling him through his expensive suit. He rubbed his forehead, grappling with the unthinkable. "Why didn't you come to me?" he asked, his voice rough with guilt and confusion, looking at her with desperate eyes. Amaka shook her head, a small, sad gesture. "I didn't think it mattered to you, sir," she replied simply, her gaze unwavering. Her words, so honest and unadorned, pierced him deeper than any accusation. They revealed a painful truth about his own absence. Kingsley's throat tightened. He realized his immense wealth hadn't bought him the one thing that truly mattered: presence in his own son's life. Soft, shuffling footsteps broke the silence. Both Kingsley and Amaka turned, their eyes fixed on the end of the long corridor. Junior appeared, a small, barefoot figure, his eyes half closed and disoriented as he sleepwalked, muttering softly to himself. "Daddy?" Junior mumbled, his voice thick with sleep, as he stumbled forward into the dimly lit hallway, looking lost. Kingsley sprang up, his arms open, a wave of profound emotion washing over him. Amaka whispered, "Walk slowly. Don't startle him." Junior walked directly into his father's embrace. "I was looking for you," the boy whispered, clinging to him. Kingsley held his son tight, tears stinging his eyes. "I'm here now, son," he murmured, his voice thick with a promise he meant to keep. Amaka stood a few steps back, a silent, unobtrusive witness to this raw, emotional reunion, a faint, sad smile on her lips. Kingsley carried Junior back to his room, gently tucking him into bed, brushing his son's hair until the boy's breathing settled into a peaceful sleep. Returning to the kitchen, Kingsley found Amaka pouring steaming water into a mug. The sharp, comforting scent of ginger filled the air. She offered him the mug without a word. Kingsley leaned against the counter, utterly exhausted, but strangely, painfully awake. "I'd like to keep you here, Amaka," he said. Amaka turned to him, her eyes steady. Sir, you don't need to hire love. You just need to be present. Her wisdom was a calm, profound truth. He nodded, accepting her words. Then teach me, he said, his voice raw. I want to learn how to be a father. The next morning the penthouse felt different. It was no longer a vast, empty space, but a home stirring with possibility. Kingsley, still in his house clothes, sat at the breakfast table with Junior, watching him devour banana pancakes. It was a simple act, but it felt more significant than any business deal. He began to learn the clumsy, beautiful art of fatherhood, fumbling with shoelaces, reading bedtime stories, and simply being there when Junior woke and when he slept. He canceled meetings and worked from home, slowly, deliberately stitching the fragile bond with his son back together, one shared moment at a time. Amaka remained a quiet, steady presence. She never overstepped, but gently guided him, reminding him to check homework or look at a new drawing. One evening, as she was leaving, Kingsley stopped her. "Amaka," he said, his voice thick with gratitude. "You didn't just save him that night, you gave me back my son." She smiled faintly. "He doesn't need a hero, sir. He just needs his father." Her words settled in his heart like a truth carved in stone. Kingsley went to tuck his son in, whispering a promise he intended to keep. "From now on, when you wake, I'll be here." Junior's small arms wrapped around his neck. "Promise?" "Promise," Kingsley vowed, kissing his son's forehead. And for the first time, he felt like more than a man with wealth. He felt like a father. The newfound peace in the penthouse was soon tested. Junior, now a whirlwind of joyful energy, suddenly fell ill. His laughter faded, replaced by a fragile vulnerability. A sudden fever gripped the boy, making him shiver uncontrollably. At the hospital, amid the sterile scent of disinfectant, Junior lay in a bed, and Foreline in his tiny arm, looking small and lost. In his feverish state, he called out a single, heart-stopping word: "Mummy." The word hung in the sterile air. A ghost from a past Kingsley had tried to wall off, a sharp reminder of a wound he thought had healed. Kingsley turned to Amaka, who stood quietly by the bedside, her hand gently on Junior's forehead. His voice was low and tense. "He's my son, Amaka," he pleaded, his own pain evident. "Don't try to take his mother's place." Amaka met his pained gaze, her own eyes glistening with unshed tears, but her voice was unwavering and soft. "Sir, he's scared. I'm not trying to replace anyone. I'm just here for him," she finished, her voice a promise. In that moment, Kingsley saw the depth of her selfless care, a devotion he had never truly acknowledged. After Junior recovered and returned home, a heavy silence settled between Kingsley and Amaka, burdened by his thoughtless words. Amaka, feeling her position was now unclear, quietly approached him, a folded resignation letter in her hands. "I love this boy," she said, her voice firm despite the pain in her eyes. "But I can't care for him while constantly worrying about overstepping. It's not fair to him or to me." Kingsley watched her leave that day, a profound sense of loss settling over him. He felt the silence in the penthouse grow colder, more vast. Junior's joyous laughter, which had just returned, faded once more. At night the boy would wake, whispering Amaka's name, longing for her comforting presence. Kingsley realized then that what Amaka had given his son was something that could not be bought or replaced. It was the simple, profound gift of unconditional presence and love. The emptiness in the house became unbearable. One rainy evening, Kingsley drove through the slick city streets, his heart heavy, determined to find her. He pulled up to her small apartment building, a modest structure far from his opulent world. Standing at her door, his heart pounded with the fear of losing her for good. When Amaka opened the door, her face a mix of surprise and guardedness, Kingsley spoke, his voice raw with vulnerability. "Amaka, please," he began. "I was wrong. I was so terribly wrong. I thought I was enough, but I can't do it without you," he confessed, not with the arrogance of a boss, but with the desperation of a man who finally understood what his home was missing. He asked for another chance, for her to come back, to rebuild the trust he had foolishly broken. Amaka hesitated, her eyes searching his face, looking for sincerity. "I need time to trust you again, Kingsley," she said softly. He nodded, accepting her condition. "I'll wait," he promised, his heart hammering with a fragile hope. The next morning, Amaka returned. The penthouse, which had felt like a tomb, suddenly filled with warmth and light. Junior ran to her, his arms wide, a burst of joyful energy. He hugged her tightly, burying his face in her uniform. A quiet, undeniable spark passed between Kingsley and Amaka, as their eyes met a silent acknowledgment of their shared hope and renewed connection. Life slowly, beautifully returned to the house, now truly a home. Shared breakfasts, bedtime stories, and laughter filled every room. Amaka's gentle guidance and their unspoken love bloomed in the small, everyday moments, weaving them closer together. One night, prompted by Junior, who sat between them on the sofa, Kingsley took Amaka's hands in his. "Amaka," he began, his voice thick with emotion, his gaze unwavering. "You've shown me what family truly is." He took a deep breath. "I love you. Will you be with me, not just as Junior's guide, but as mine, as my partner?" Tears welled in Amaka's eyes, a beautiful, overwhelming joy. She squeezed his hands. "Yes," she whispered, her voice barely audible. Months later, on a beautiful evening, they found themselves at a rooftop restaurant, overlooking the sparkling beach. The city lights twinkled below, and the gentle sea breeze carried the scent of salt and promise. Kingsley, his heart full, looked into Amaka's eyes, then knelt before her, producing a small velvet box. "Amaka," he said, his voice brimming with love, "you've been my anchor, my heart, my home. Will you marry me?" Amaka's hands flew to her mouth, tears of joy streaming down her face. Junior, who had been sitting impatiently at their table, suddenly cheered. "Say yes, Mommy, say yes." Through her laughter and tears, Amaka nodded, her voice choked with emotion. "Yes." The wedding bells rang under a glorious sunset sky, the ceremony a blend of African tradition and modern elegance. Kingsley, Amaka, and a grinning Junior stood together, a radiant family, united not by blood, but by shared love and a profound journey. Their home, once a cold mansion, was now a vibrant, loving haven, a testament to the bonds of care, devotion, and a love that had truly found its home in each other.